What's up, my friends? It's Mr. Gallows, of course. Welcome back to another Fresh from the Netflix review. Boy, we're doing a lot of Fresh from the Netflix reviews lately, but you know, Netflix is putting out a lot of great material, aren't they? But yeah, guys, sorry about that. I'm just lost in my own little fantasy world still because finally, I just finished watching Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. And man, guys, my reaction just finishing this show, I mean, if any of you guys have been following me on social media, you know that I've been posting about this constantly. I mean, literally constantly. I'm blown away by this show. That's my reaction. I'm just completely blown away. I'm almost speechless at what I've just seen. What they just accomplished on screen. The mastercraft that is going on here in not just the puppetry, but the overall execution of the show is just unbelievable to withhold. So let's jump right in and talk about Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance.
The crystal of truth, the source of all life. The Skeksis have corrupted it. And now our world is at risk from the darkening.
What is the darkening?
Behold.
Now, for me, like many of you out there, The Dark Crystal is one of my all-time favorite childhood dark fantasy movies, and for that reason, because it's dark childhood fantasy. It was a specific genre. You know, if you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you know good dark fantasy. It's Dark Crystal, Secret of NIMH, Watership Down, Labyrinth, right? It's movies like that that provided these very frightening and scary elements, and not just frightening and scary, very, very creative and imaginative elements. And when I heard that they were going to be doing an entire season of The Dark Crystal, and it's a prequel, I was so excited, but also I was very, very worried. Because, you know how these things go. We all hate prequels. We hate prequels because nobody can do them right. Until we started to see all of the early trailers come out, and then I got really, really excited. But I still held, I still was reserved, until I said, let me see this for myself. Let me let this, entire TV show play out for itself. And man, within, you guys know how it goes. If you finish the show for yourself, you should, because this is a spoiler review, by this point. But, a half an hour into the very first episode, I knew that they had it. I wasn't worried. All of my worry just completely disappeared. I said, here we go, man. These are people that understand the Dark Crystal and know how to execute the Dark Crystal. I didn't need to see any behind-the-scenes footage first. You know it from the magic. And that's what I want to talk about first, is the magic that this TV show produces. Magic is something that is sorely missing from all modern fantasy today. And, all of the reboots too, even all the Disney live action stuff, we're always talking about the missing magic. This is a TV show with magic. Why? Well, because they did everything old school. And let me just give a quick shout out to Netflix. First and foremost, thank you, Netflix, for letting everybody in charge of this production do what they want to do. Because originally, if you guys didn't know this, they were actually doing tests for animated characters, animated gelflings. But when they looked at the animations, they said, this doesn't look right. And so everybody was hoping that they were going to get the opportunity to do a live action, but they said there's no way that they will do this because it's too expensive. Well, guess what Netflix said? They said, okay, go ahead. Do it live action. They said, this is going to be really expensive, They said, go ahead. We don't care. Do it. Do it live action. Do it all with puppets. And so they did. And so they got all of their creative minds and all of their creative forces behind it to do it old school, like Lord of the Rings style, old school, with puppets and animatronics. And yes, it was so expensive, but Netflix didn't care. You wouldn't get that in Hollywood. Hollywood would say, oh, what, you can make it with animated characters? Yes, please do. The children will love that, and it will be super cheap to make, right? Not Netflix. They said, go ahead, use all your creativity that you possibly have, and we'll put all the money and backing behind you, and look at what we got. Do you see? Hollywood needs to take a note. They need to take a lesson from this. This is what happens when you give all of the people in charge of this project ultimate freedom and ultimate creativity. They produce magic. They produce 10-star, 100% TV shows. Whoops, spoiler. Something else that I really enjoyed about the show, and it's what gave the show really all of its magic, well, not all of its magic, but a big part of its magic, was the voice cast. I mean, this voice cast is absolutely stacked. I mean, you got Mark Hamill playing the scientist, you've got Helena Bonham Carter, who's playing All-Madra, and I mean, I've got them all listed right here so I don't forget anybody. You know, of course, Taron Egerton playing Rian, Andy Samberg, Natalie Dormer, Simon Pegg, Alicia Vikander, the list just goes on and on. Eddie Izzard. I mean, this is so cool. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. There are so many A-list voice actors, but it's not about the fact that they're A-list. That's not what it's about. The fact of the matter is that they were all perfectly cast in their roles. And when I say perfectly, I mean there is nobody that is flawed. Awkwafina as the Collector was awesome. She was so awesome. Sigourney Weaver as the myth teller. I mean, they were just so perfectly cast in their roles. Every single person was perfectly cast in their roles, and it added so much to the magic of the TV show because, you know, I just. The characters don't come alive without the voice actors, obviously, and without them perfectly syncing up with their parts, you would have the wrong performances. But it's so captivating just to listen to their voices and to hear their tales and to hear them express their emotions. I mean, it's just absolutely brilliant to see them perform. And everybody gave such brilliant performances too. These, unlike, you know, something like The Lion King, these weren't mailed-in performances. These were very emotional, captivating performances. And just like, you know, just experiencing the voice acting. This is something, even though you wouldn't want to close your eyes during watching something brilliant like this, and we'll get into that in a little bit, this is literally a show where you could close your eyes and you could just listen to the voice actors play their parts, and you could build it yourself in your head. It's that brilliant. You can literally just build it yourself in your head just listening to the voices. In fact, that's even something that, you know, I mean, maybe I'm giving some people ideas right now, but I guarantee you, you're going to see something on YouTube or something where somebody's taken the entire TV show and just made an audiobook out of it. Because this is something that you could just, rip off of YouTube and put it on your MP3 player, and then you have an audiobook to take with you to work or on the bus or something like that. I mean, this is, you could listen to it with your eyes closed. It's just that good. And whenever you can do that with a TV show or even a movie, that's when you know you've captured brilliance. And, you know, while we're still talking about characters here, just real briefly, I wanted to mention probably my favorite character in the entire show, Bray. I loved Bray so much. I mean, this is a character voiced by Anna Taylor-Joy, brilliantly, once again, of course. She was probably my favorite character in the entire program because she has the best character arc, I think, on the show. I mean, Rian has a pretty good character arc too, but what's so great about Bray is that she breaks away from the world of politics and breaks away from the world of the Skeksis and that religion, basically, that she follows because of her own knowledge and wisdom. She's actually interested in going into libraries and learning from books and taking notes. She draws her own pictures. She's got her own notebooks. Just like me, it's like I got that from my fantasy stories. I've got all of my drawings and all of my notes, right? So I relate to a character like that. And because she's interested, because she asks questions, she seeks knowledge, she values wisdom, she's able to break away and eventually, in the end, lead this rebellion alongside Rian and all the others. And she's basically able to, be the shining light, again, just like Rian, just be the shining light for all of the Gelfling and all of the clan who's banding together to take down the Skeksis. And I loved that. She is such a well-written character, and I can't wait to see what they're going to be doing in Season 2. However, I would have to say, without a doubt, the most fun character on the show, the character that I personally had the most fun with, is absolutely Deet. I mean, Deet is just awesome. I mean, what a great character design with the big eyes I mean, the entire, the Groton, I think they were called, the entire tribe had a great design, the big dark eyes and the long ears and the wings with the shaggy hair and the braids. What a great character design. And she had such an adorable face too. But I loved her character. I just had the most fun with her on the show. She was so full of energy and so full of life and wanting to just meet and greet everybody and just be a part of everything and wanting to bring value and joy and happiness into everybody's life. And every time I was watching Deet on screen, I kept thinking to myself, I was like, man, we need more Deet in the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like we need some more Deet in the world. That's what we need right now. We need Deets everywhere. Just walking around, shaking everybody's hand, trying to meet everybody, just, you know, being happy and smiling and just being into everybody, and also not seeing any difference. Because that was the overlying, message of this entire show was, to be accepting of everybody so that everybody comes together as one. Something that I talk about all the time over on my vlog channel. Is something, it's a huge part of what I talk about over there. And this show does such a great job of conveying that, of realizing that truth, ultimate truth, is the only real true value in this world, is finding the truth to everything. And then once you've found the truth, it's your responsibility to spread the truth. And once the truth is spread, that's when everybody comes together as one clan, as one tribe, to rise up against whatever is oppressing you. And I haven't seen a show. I mean, Infinity War was pretty good at doing that, and of course, like Star Wars and stuff like that has always been good at doing that in the past. And there've been a lot of movies in the past, obviously, that have done that. But present day, I really can't think of a present day fantasy story that has done such a great job at conveying all of those values in such a brilliant, magical way. I mean, it was outstanding. Alright, so let's talk about the most magical element of this entire show, the puppetry. The puppetry was absolutely amazing. I mean, it's just, it's hard to like describe. In some areas, it's so good. I mean, you guys have actually seen me do a little bit of puppetry in the past for my Toy Story skit. I did a little bit for Sockshul, so obviously that makes me a master puppeteer, right? Sockshul actually sounds a little bit like a Skeksis, doesn't it? Stay away from him, you heathen! Let me deal with this heathen! Remember me, fool! Right? Skeksis, totally Skeksis. So it's like, but anyway, wow, what a tangent I went off on there. But anyway, guys, yeah, the puppetry in this was absolutely outstanding. I mean, it was so good. They gave these puppets, they gave them, I guess what I learned from the behind-the-scenes documentary that I watched, which is also on Netflix, by the way, if you guys don't know about that. What you learn from it is that because the puppets are really stiff and they don't have that much facial expression, they actually enhance the smile and the winks and stuff like that with CG. But honestly, I didn't notice it. I thought it was all coming from the puppet performances. And man, the master puppeteers, absolute master, like kung fu master status puppeteers. I mean, the performances that they were giving, somebody give these people awards. We need to create a new category, like in a new award category when we talk about like movie awards and stuff like that for puppeteering, because Dark Crystal has just set the standard. I mean, I was blown away. I don't know about you guys, but I was blown away. I mean, they make these puppets human. I mean, they are human characters. It's like we're watching, it's literally like this. It's like you're watching an alien species on screen that is actually alive. It's actually like the Gelflings are real humanoid species. And they went out and got them and said, hey guys, we're putting together a Dark Crystal feature. You want to come be in this TV show? And we'll just film you and tell everybody that it's puppets. It's like on that level good. That like you can't even tell. I mean, obviously, I don't want to say that because you can tell, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Simon Pegg actually mentioned that in the documentary too. He said sometimes in the original Dark Crystal you can see the arm bars and you can see the wires, But that's what makes Dark Crystal a cult classic. It's because you can see those things. You can understand, you understand how they made it, right? And even though in these, this new TV show, obviously they're going to edit all that stuff out, but you can still tell that they're puppets, and it's a good thing. Like on the Skeksis, I loved the design of the Skeksis, it was so good, but something that I loved about it was that they only animated the tongues. The tongues were the only thing they animated. Now, they could have taken, oh, boxer's fracture hand, oh, take two. They could have just taken the Skeksis, right, and animated the entire mouth. And given them, they could have done like what they did with Smaug, the good old Smaug, in The Desolation of Smaug, which is they animated the entire mouth to give it more life, but in these puppets, they didn't. On the Skeksis, the mouth, they still move up and down. They just flap like this, up and down. And I loved that. That's what I loved about the show, is that they kept the puppets as they would have when in the 80s. These are 80s puppets. These are old school puppets that they're using. And that's what adds to the magic of the show. I saw a lot of people complaining about the puppets, saying, why didn't they make the faces more animated? Why didn't they make anything more animated? Because, guys, this is a prequel to The Dark Crystal. It's like, everybody complained about George Lucas in the prequels. Why? Because he was using too much green screen, right? And so the jump into the OT felt unnatural because there was so much special effects in the prequel trilogy, right? Well, so you guys can't complain about this, because this is them keeping it the same. That's what I loved about it so much, is that they kept everything exactly the same so that you can make a seamless transition into the Dark Crystal, into the original movie. That's why they're going to keep everything the same. Now, of course, they added computer graphics, but that's what everybody does these days. Computer graphics enhance everything. The greatest movies in the world have computer graphics to enhance everything. That is a method of filmmaking. That's what we do now, and it was brilliantly used in here. It's like, I would say it's like a 70-30 balance. 70 real and organic, 30 computer graphics, and sometimes even 80-20, and sometimes 100%. You know what I'm saying? And that's what makes the show so real and organic and adds so much magic to it. These are real environments that people are seeing. These are puppets. These are figures that are not, they're not animated. They're not inside of a computer. They're outside of the computer. They're catching light. They are moving around. They are interacting with objects that we're seeing. We're seeing real sets. You know what I'm saying? This is what I want to see. This is the future of filmmaking. And that leads perfectly into what I'm going to talk about next, which is the music and the visuals. And that's kind of what rounds out, what gives the show so much magic. The icing on the cake, if you will, is the visuals and the music. Now, the music in this show is so captivating. It's like, it's very, again, just like the sets and just like the puppets, it's very natural and organic. It feels like it comes from Thra. It feels like it comes from that world, and yet it maintains this kind of like mystical, like Final Fantasy aspect to it. Final Fantasy is one of another huge, deep impacting franchise for me, and especially the music that comes from Final Fantasy is just absolutely stunning, absolutely amazing, very, very captivating, and brilliantly composed and brilliantly written. And here again, we have this Final Fantasy sounding music that's brilliantly written and brilliantly composed, and it weaves all of the scenes together so perfectly, especially during all the emotional scenes. When again, the puppets are, and it sounds so funny to say because puppet is just a funny word by itself, but puppet is something that we see on Sesame Street. It's for comedy's sake. Not in this show. Not in this show, man. In this show, when the puppets are together and they're displaying emotions, they're crying in each other's arms, and you have this very, foreboding and whimsical, magical music playing behind it, and it is so perfectly set to each scene. And it's what makes the puppets so human, is that the music that is playing and locking all of these scenes together. And the ominous music too. Lots of great ominous synth-inspired music. Not synth-inspired. When I say synth-inspired, I mean they're using synths to draw up all these weird tones and stuff like that for the show. And it's very brilliantly composed and perfectly set for the show. And that goes along with all of the brilliant visuals too. I mean, Deet flying through the underground caves, exploring, eating the blue moss and glowing. This is a show that understands atmosphere. It understands, it's very similar to Lord of the Rings. It understands how to set a fantasy world up so that it feels natural and organic, but also something very, very strange and alien that we've never seen before in our lives, that can take us out of this world and into a pure new world. And it was so, the color palette for this show, the animation, the design, the concept art, the detail, the intricate detail in the costumes, and the wrinkles in the faces and the masks, the facial expressions. I could just go on for days. The amount of detail in the show, the performances from the puppeteers, everything came together so brilliantly in this show, but what ties it all together is the visual. I literally spent the entire season watching the show like that. Just drooling. You know what I'm saying? Because it just looks so good. It takes you right inside the world. It grabs you and it sucks you right into Thra. And so you're so attached to all these characters, you feel like you're part of the mission. You feel like you're meeting all these people along the way. Hup, right? Man, what a great character Hup was. Hup was so perfectly executed character. And I can't wait to see more from him, of course, in the future. Hopefully, he becomes a real paladin. But yeah, just the visuals and the music for this show really gave it so much feel and so much depth and so much magic, and it gave life to the characters and surrounded the characters with this warmth and emotion. And man, I can't wait to get back to Thra. Well, I can already tell that I've blathered on for far too long about this thing by the timestamp on my video here. So let's go ahead and talk about, the end of the season, spoilers and all that. One of the things that I was really pleasantly surprised by, and I didn't know this at all, apparently there's going to be at least a season 2. I didn't know they were going to do a season 2. I thought that it was just going to be one season and then we're going to go right into the Dark Crystal. And I suppose if they didn't want to do a season 2, they could leave it open-ended like that. But of course, they're going to do a season 2. And I was so excited about this. As things were wrapping up, I was like, oh my god, they're going to do a season 2. Like they're actually planning a second season. I was not expecting that at all. I'm so happy about that. And what I'm most intrigued by is that, it's how they wrapped everything up. Obviously the Skeksis are back in their castle, but the rebellion has quieted for now. And now I guess they're just going to reform and get everything back together. Now the Skeksis realize that they're a threat, but everything is kind of neutral again until somebody makes a move, which I thought was really, really interesting. And also, probably the biggest aspect of the end is that Deet, what's going on with Deet? Deet obviously got infected by the darkness, and now she's doing some 11 stuff from Stranger Things. She's got superpowers now. She's got full-on superpowers, like purple lightning coming from her fingers. So obviously, I guess this means that maybe Deet is, gonna pull a Luke Skywalker, and go into hiding, and then somebody is gonna have to find her, and then when we find her, maybe she's just this super powerful wizard or something like that, and they're going to have to bring her back. That's probably part of the storyline for season 2 is curing Deet from the darkness. But really what it's about is it's about Bray and it's about Rian coming together and leading this rebellion. Now in season 2, we're going to get to see the true formation of the rebellion. Is that, basically what we're going to get to see is the organization, organizing the rebellion to make a full-on attack against the Skeksis. Because like I said, where they left it is kind of neutral. It's anybody can do anything, anybody can make a move. But we know that the Skeksis, they've got a secret weapon up their sleeve, haven't they? Yes, they have. They have the Garthim. Yes, what a reveal that was. It was kind of a post-credit scene. It was kind of a, they did, the post-ending title, and then right after that we see that the scientist has revealed the Garthim to everybody. And again, It was the original design. They didn't change anything. It wasn't animated. It was a guy in a suit, and you could tell that, you know, he was walking around on two legs because they had the little, you know, the kind of like the black spindly dress below him and the claws and everything. But that's great. Again, that's great that we can notice that because they're going with the original design. They're continuing the original feel of the show. And I love that so much. It was such a great reveal at the end of the show. Perfect lead up into season 2. And I really hope that everybody's going to be back for season 2 because this show is such a perfect blend of, you know, perfect blend of light and dark is what it is. It's, you know, very uplifting, very fantastical, and very magical, but at the same time, these guys aren't afraid to go dark. Apparently Dark Crystal is supposed to be a kid's show. I mean, I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but there's a lot of really, really dark stuff going on in the show, especially towards the end of the season. There's a lot of really, really dark stuff going on in the show, but like I said, you know, I grew up on dark children's fantasy. That's what I like. That's what I really, really appreciate about the show, and I'm glad that they're not afraid to go in that direction. I'm glad that they're not afraid to go too frightening and go too dark, because that's what makes the show so fantastic. Alright guys, well, it's finally time for me to score this thing, and you know it's going to be another fantastic, stellar score, but it's also going to be a kind of groundbreaking day on this channel. You know why? Because, for the first time in a long time, BAM! 100% perfect score. Yeah guys, I mean, I just had to go with a perfect score. You know, there was a while where I was debating with myself. I said, you know, maybe I'll give him a 95 because there was one slight problem that I had with the show, and that is that the dialogue is a little bit clunky. Like, some of the execution of the dialogue and some of the scenes a little bit clunky. But, you know, after you watch that behind-the-scenes documentary, you can't take anything away from the score. I just can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because what they have done, everybody involved in this production, what they have done is truly groundbreaking. Truly groundbreaking, the definition of. This is pushing the boundaries of the universe of cinema. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance is going to open up a new breed of filmmaking which will involve more puppetry and more animatronics and more organic live action. You know, Star Wars. No man. Age of Resistance. That's what's doing it. This is the groundbreaking path that's being laid. So I can't take anything away. This was, without a doubt, in every sense, in every detail, in every fiber of this show, 100% perfect score. It was absolutely groundbreaking. Flawless fantasy. Flawless fantasy. I mean, fantasy done the absolute best that you could possibly make it, with just tiny minor errors that don't really mean anything. You know, I mean, I am envious of this show. This show inspires me to get back to writing, even though, like, I'm kind of injured and I want to give it, like, another week. No, it's like, I'm going to get back to writing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I just want to watch this show over and over again and continue to be inspired and wait, you know, anxiously for season 2, because I can't wait for season 2. But yeah, guys, I mean, this show, I thought the show was absolutely brilliant in every sense of the word. And right now you guys are interrupting me from rewatching it, so let's end this video.
Well, my fellow friends and heathens, now it's time for you guys to leave all of your thoughts and opinions down below in the great white void. It is time for me to get out of here and go back to watching my TV program. Now it's time for you to drain your essence into this camera. Drain it! Drain it! Drain it!